let's take a brief look at some of the key construction site risks. Housekeeping. Those responsible for work on construction sites must manage their activities so that people can move safely around the site. Stay aware of trailing cables and stored materials, uneven surfaces and level changes. Stick to the designated walkways where possible and always wear appropriate footwear. Everyone can make a contribution to reducing slips and trips on site. Keep your own work area tidy, and if you see a risk, sort it or report it to someone who can. Manual handling. This relates to the use of bodily force when moving materials or interacting with machinery. Manual handling should be minimised as far as possible, with mechanical aids and lifting equipment used to move materials where it's feasible to do so. Work at height. Working at height is the biggest single cause of serious and fatal injury in the construction industry, and it comes in many different forms. This includes roof work, the use of mobile elevated working platforms, scaffolds, ladders and rope access. If you are carrying out work at height, you must have applied controls that prevent, restrict or mitigate the impact of falls. Structures and excavations. Alterations and dismantling to structures and excavation of ground carries the risk of unintentional collapse. Exclusion zones and temporary support structures should be in place to reduce the risk of structural or excavation collapse where there is a risk to safety. Lifting operations. Operations involving lifting equipment must be properly planned, appropriately supervised and carried out in a safe manner. Cranes and lifting accessories such as slings must be of adequate strength, tested and subject to regular examination and inspection. All crane operators and people involved in slinging loads and directing lifting operations must be trained and competent. Electrical safety. Electrical equipment must be safe and properly maintained. Only in exceptional circumstances should work be carried out on live systems, and then only by a qualified and authorised person. Whether you're working on electrical systems within buildings, working close to overhead power lines, or excavating near underground cables, safe systems of work must be employed to ensure potential electrical risks are surveyed, identified, and avoided or adequately controlled. Mobile plant and vehicles. The use of excavators, telehandlers, MUPs and other heavy plant and vehicles will be very common on the site. As a plant or vehicle operator, you must be suitably qualified and competent to operate any plant you're using. And as a pedestrian or operator, it's essential that you pay attention to and adhere to the access requirements and restrictions as outlined in the site's traffic management plan. Permits to work. To help us further reduce risk, certain high-risk activities that occur on the site may require a permit to work to be in place. This may include activities such as working at height, hot works, excavations, or working in confined spaces, for example. Speak to your site manager or line manager to ensure that you have the correct permit in place before carrying out your work. Risk assessment. Control measures are in place to manage and mitigate the risk of harm to operators and others who may be affected by the activities. All work carried out on site must be covered by a suitable and sufficient risk assessment and method statement or equivalent. All contractors are required to provide signed copies of task-specific risk assessments prior to commencing work.